Multiline is one of the most overlooked AutoCAD tools. Despite having a rich feature set and several applications, Multiline is not often used, but I will try to change that a bit in this video. Here I'll show everything about Multiline tool of AutoCAD, and I'll also show you a quick way of making walls and windows in your floor plan using Multiline tool. We'll also explore methods of using Multiline tool for creating simple roads in AutoCAD. Now, before we move any further, I want to share with you our best so far AutoCAD course library. If you want to learn AutoCAD right from scratch with some of the most comprehensive courses available on internet, backed by instructor support for Q&A, practice exercises, quizzes, and projects, then check our AutoCAD course library right now. You can start learning online with one little subscription fee, and you can cancel your subscription anytime you want. Click the link right here to go to course library, or check the link in the description of the video. Now with that, let's get started. So despite being a powerful tool, Multiline is not very frequently used. So in this video, I'll try to explain what a Multiline is, and also I'll show you some practical use case of Multiline tool. Now let's start with the simple Multiline tool. So you can activate Multiline simply by using its command ML. So type ML, press enter, and there we are. So Multiline tool now started, and we have some settings here for Multiline that we need to look at. For example, in this case, the justification is set to top, scale is 20, and style is standard. Now with the default style and default conditions, let's make a Multiline. So I'll click at a point, then second, third, and there we are. So as you can see, we are now making two parallel lines. Now to exit out of this, press enter, and that's what we have here. That's called Multiline. Now by default it has just two lines, but you can add as many lines as you want, and you can also add several different properties to these multilines. If you hover your cursor over the multiline, AutoCAD will show it as MLINE, but if you explode it, it will convert into simple line. For example, I'll select the multiline and I'll click on explode, and now it's converted into separate lines. So once you convert it into separate line, all the properties related to multiline will be lost. So this is just a bunch of lines now. All right, now let's see how we can use Multiline to make walls of a floor plan. Now to do that, I'll first start with unit. So that's the first setting. So I'm going to type UN for unit, press enter, and let's start by setting the unit of this drawing. So I'll select architectural here. For precision, I'll select 1/2 inch, and insertion scale is inches. So with these settings, click OK. Now I'll make some changes in our multiline. So I'll type ML for multiline, press enter, and here I'll start making the multiline. But right out of the box, we don't know the gap of this multiline. As you can see, it is just picking it randomly. So there is quite a lot that we need to change. Now to do that, well, let's start with ML again, but this time I'll now change a property called scale. Select scale, and the scale is set to 20. Let's just make it 9. And with 9 unit scale, the gap between multiline will be 9 inch, because the unit which we have set is inches. So with 9, I'll press enter. Now there is one more property that you can change, and that's justification. Currently the justification is set to top. Now what that is, let's make a multiline. Now as you can see, with this 9 unit scale, the gap between these two parallel line is of course 9 unit, and if you look at the cursor, it is now following the top line, and that's the justification. Now I'll press enter and enter again to repeat it. I'll go to justification and I'll change that to 0. Now with 0 justification, it will follow the midline, which in this case is not visible, but it will just be somewhere in between these two lines, exactly at the midline. Then I'll press enter again and go to justification, select bottom, and of course, as you now know, it will follow the bottom line. So that's the justification option. And of course, the gap is 9 units. So if you want to check it, type DI, press enter, click on these 2 points, and the gap is 9 inch. Okay, so now with these two things set properly, let's start making walls. So in our case, the wall thickness is 9 inch, and that's why I used a scale of 9. So I'll type ML. I'll just ensure that scale is set to 9, which it is, and justification, I'll change that to top. All right, let's start making one. So I'll click here, and the first wall is 50 feet. press enter. All right, so for this, I simply typed 50 and then apostrophe for feet. As we are using imperial unit, you can use this apostrophe sign to add feet and double apostrophe for inches. Now for this side, I want 31 feet. So 31 feet, enter. Now I'll repeat the process for this side, and that's again 50 feet. And now instead of joining it here, which you simply cannot because there is no snap point, even though object snap is active, I will now use close option, which is right here. So you can click here or simply type C, enter, and that's going to close it like so. So here we have it, the rectangular outer boundary. Now that's not all. Let's add the inner walls. Now the inner wall thickness is 5 inch. So we need to change the wall thickness now. So simply type ML, press enter, go to scale, and then make it 5. Now quickly, we changed from 9-inch thickness of wall to 5-inch. All right, now let's make another wall. So from this point, the distance is 16 feet. So I'll simply track this point. I'm not going to click, and simply I'll type 16 feet, enter. Now at a distance of 16 feet, another wall is starting, and I'm just going to click right about here, and we are done. All right, so this wall is added. In a similar way, I'll add all the other walls. So let's go to this multi-line. I'll simply press enter to repeat it with the last settings. And now from this point, the distance is 11 feet 6 inch. So 11 feet 6 inch, enter. And right here, we have another wall ending right about here. I'll repeat the process for 2 walls here as well. So again, I'll track this point, and this distance is 17 feet 6 inch. All right. And right here, we have this wall. And once again, I'll make another one that follows this point, and the distance is 10 feet. All right, and right about here. So very quickly, we managed to add these walls. But there is a problem. The point where these walls are merging is not the way it should be. So we need to trim it. And instead of trimming it using the trim tool, we can now use multi-line edit to do it very quickly. Let me show you how it works. So I'll go to MLEDIT, press enter, and now we have some multi-line edit options. Now using these options, you can choose the merging option for the multi-lines. For example, in this case, we can use the T merging, where it looks kind of like this. So open T. So open T merging will make it, well, quite like what we want. So I'll just select open T, and now let's start merging it. So I'll select this one and then this. And here we are, we've got the gap. Now I'll repeat the process for all of these. So select this multi-line and then select this line. Now this order of selection is important here. So make sure that this is the one selected first and then this one, because the one which you are using first will be the reference and the second one will be trimmed. So here is the reference, here is the line that will be trimmed. Again, reference and the trimming line, reference and the trimming line. Okay, I'll repeat it again. It looks like I accidentally missed that order. So I'll just repeat it again. Open T and first and second, first and second, first and second. And we are done. So in a matter of seconds, we managed to trim it all. Now the next step is adding windows. Now adding window is also very easy using multi-line. Now if you want to add windows, you can directly create a new style for multi-line and use it in your drawing. Let me show you how it works. So for multi-line style, I'll use command MLSTYLE and press enter. Now as you can see, by default we have this standard style, but let's create a new one. So I'll go to new and I'll call it window. All right. And click continue. Now the name should not contain any special characters or space. Just make sure that whatever name you're using is, well, a simple name without spaces. You can add a description if you want, and in description you can add special characters or even spaces if you like. And here for description, I'm going to type 9-inch and 5-inch window. So I'll use just simple window and I'll use it on both the wall thicknesses. All right, so with that, we have now several options. Let's explore one by one. Well, the first thing here is elements. That's what I want to highlight here. In the element, we have 2 multi-lines. As you can see, multi-line is created with 2 or more lines. So of course we have 2, and the offset gap is 0.5 from the center. So 0.5 up, 0.5 down, that makes this multi-line of 1 unit thickness. All right, if you want to add more multi-lines here, you can simply click add and add it. Now the third one is added at 0. Okay, that's fine. I'll add maybe one more. Again, that's added at 0 line, but now I'll add some distances. So the last multi-line is at 0.5. I'll leave that and I'll add its distance. Its distance is currently 0. So I'll just change that to 0.4, and that you can do using this offset value. So 0.4, and now that is added here. Now for this one, I'll make it minus 0.4. All right, so on both the sides, we have a multi-line at 0.4 and then another one at minus 0.4. All right, and you can actually see the preview of what we are going to get here eventually. So we have got minus 0.5, minus 0.4, 0.4, and 0.5. So that's how the multi-line is going to look like. But we are still not done. We also need to add caps here. Now to add the cap, you can go to this cap option right here, and you can select any kind of cap which you want. For example, you can select line and the cap will be added as a line. And that's for the starting point. For end point, we have line. If you want, you can add arc as well. For example, here we have this arc, and then end also we have an arc. Of course, we don't want that. And also you can add inner arcs like that and like that. That's for the lines that are completely inside. All right, so you can add it, but in this case, I just want simple straight lines as the caps. Okay, that's added. Now the next thing is angle. The angle here for this is 90 degrees, and for the ending line also it is 90 degrees. If you want to incline it, well, you can choose the angle. I don't think inclination is required for this line, but if you want, you can type like, let's say 60, and here it is. Now it is inclined to 60 degrees. So I'll just change it back to 90. I want it perfectly vertical. Now the next thing is fill color. Now if you want to fill a color inside this just to highlight it, you can do that. I won't recommend filling a color for this because you can later do it in layers, but just for the example, I'll change that color to something else, maybe cyan. And now the fill color for this multi-line will be cyan. Also, we have a checkbox called display joints. Now we'll see what display joints option is in a moment, but for now I'll leave it. Then we have the color of our line. So we have added 4 lines here. Now, if you want to add a specific color for, well, specific set of lines, you can add it here. For example, let's say 0.4 line, we want it of different color, maybe red. Select red. Then minus 0.4 also. So for both 0.4 and minus 0.4, we'll add red color. There we are. You can also change its line type. If you want it as hidden line, you can do that. And in this case, we of course want it as hidden line. So I'll go to line type, load, and ISO dash, or even hidden if you want. So here we have it hidden. Maybe I'll use hidden line type for this. Select hidden and click OK. Now this one, the 0.4 line, has hidden line type. Now for minus 0.4, I'll use the same. So line type, hidden, OK, done. So both of these will have hidden line type, though it is not visible here. It will be when we add it in our drawing. So we have added all these things here, and now we are all set. So I'll maybe make one more change here. Instead of minus 0.4, I'll use minus 0.3 and plus 0.3. All right. And with that, I'll click OK. And now we are ready to use this window multi-line. So click OK, and now let's start with multi-line again. So I'll use ML for multi-line, enter. But by default, it's still using the standard style. We need to change that to window. To do that, you can go to style and type its name, window, and press enter. Now the style is window. All right, let's start adding it. So here is the point. Now I'll just move it up, and as you can see, it is adding the multi-line exactly the way we created, with cyan as the background color and all these multi-line styles, but the thickness is of course not 9 unit. So we need to fix the thickness. Now to fix the thickness, I'll just delete this, and now I'll type ML, enter. And as you can see, the scale is set to 5, not 9. So that's what we are going to change. So I'll go to scale, I'll make it 9, enter, and now we are ready to add it. So let's add this multi-line now. So I'll just drag this point and right here, and now I'll add the distance, that is 6 feet, enter, and here we are. We have got our window. Now with just one click, we managed to add it. And also for every window, you can now decide the thickness. So let's use multi-line again. So ML, enter. Now I'll just select, well, this point here, and again 6 feet, enter. There we are. Now in a similar way, you can add as many windows as you like. For example, here also, I'll just click maybe here, and then 6 feet, enter, done. Now the same window can be selected for a different wall. For example, let's say for whatever reason we want a window on this inner wall, though it is not usually recommended, but still let's say we want to add it. For that, you can simply type ML and then go to scale and just type 5. That's all you need to change. Now the wall thickness has changed, and all you need to do is just add that multi-line. So I just selected this wrong line. In this direction, it will add it upwards. So I'll just press escape, press enter, and now I'll select this one at the top. All right, there we are. So 6 feet, or maybe let's say for this one, I want 5 feet. There we are. And we have got this window. Now, AutoCAD does not allow changing multi-line style once you have created it. For example, here we have created these multi-lines, and if you try modifying it, so MLSTYLE, press enter. Now, if you select that multi-line, well, AutoCAD won't let you modify it. The only way you can modify these multi-lines is simply by deleting every reference from your drawing, and then you can modify it. For example, in this case, window won't be modified by default. So I'll cancel this, and then I'll select all of these windows which we have already created, delete it, and then I'll just go to multi-line style, and now we can modify it. So with that, I'll now maybe change the fill color to none, and that's the only modification I'm going to make. Click OK and done. And now if you add multi-line with that same window style with a scale of 9, you will get a window without any kind of background color. So 6 feet, and here we are. Now let's talk about another option of multi-line, and for that I'm going to open a new drawing. Now you can use multi-line to create roads as well. Now let's say you want to create road with the lane markings. For that, you can create a multi-line with a different style. Now in this case, once again, I'm going to start with UN, the unit option, and here I'll change the unit to decimal precision, 1 decimal place, and the scale to meters. All right. Now I'll go to multi-line style. Now I'll click on new. I'll give it a name. I'll call it road and continue. Now in this case, let's make a road with 3 lanes. So basically we'll add 2 lane markings. All right. For that we have, well, these 2 exterior lines, and we want every lane with a width of 4 meters. So here, instead of using this 0.5 as the offset distance, I'll just change that to 6. And here the second offset is -6. Okay, so that is done. Now I'll add few more lines here. So I'll go to add and add just 2 more lines here. So for this one, I'll use a distance of 2. And for this, I'll use a distance of -2. Okay, so we've got 3 lanes here, and the gap is 4, 4, and 4 for all of these lanes. Now for the inner lines, I will add a different line type. So for 2, I'll go to line type, and I'll maybe add ISO dash as the line type. All right, ISO dash, okay. And for -2, I'll do the same, ISO dash. Done. Now let's click on display joints as well. And now we'll see what will happen now. So click OK and OK. And let's make roads. So ML, enter. The style is set to standard. So let's change that to road. So I'll click on style option and I'll type road and enter. Now if I make multi-line, well, it's going to make it with all the lane markings, and you can now clearly see that we have all these joints, which doesn't make sense in this case. We will fix it later, but that's what the joints are. Now if you don't want joints, well, uncheck that option from multi-line style. So let's go to multi-line again, but before that we'll delete it so that we can modify this multi-line. So multi-line style and select road, modify, and I'll just uncheck this display joints. And with that, click OK and OK again. And now we can make multi-line that looks like we've got road here. Now all these lines are really very closely spaced, which doesn't make it look like the actual lane marking. Now if you want to just move it far apart or just increase the scale of this lane marking, then you can use LT scale command. So type LT scale, press enter, and the current scale factor is 1. I'll make it 5 and enter. Now as you can see, it's loosely spaced. All right, now let's talk about this last example. When making these kind of roads, you may end up with situations where you may want to add different kind of road intersections, and that you can do using multi-line edit command. So let's use MLEDIT this time and press enter. Now with MLEDIT command, you will have this kind of, well, options. Now using these options, you can decide how the roads are going to merge or how the multi-lines are going to merge. Now we have already seen this option and we actually used OpenT, but now in this case, we'll explore all the other options. So let's start with closed cross. Now, as you can see, one road will go up, another will move as if it's going under that road. So that's closed cross. Select closed cross and select the road that's going inside and then the one that's going above it. So there we are, that's closed cross. Press enter twice to repeat this command. Now let's select closed T. And in this case, we'll start with the one we want to cut. So I'll select this and then I'll select the one we want to keep. So there we are, this will cut and this will remain here. Now in a similar way, you can use all the other examples. So let's press enter key twice and we have open cross, select this open cross, and now it will create the gap here. So open cross is this, select both of these and it will add this kind of open cross. Press enter again, and now we have this open T option. Let's see what this is. So I'll select open T, I'll select this line, the multi-line, and then this one, and this is what we have, the open T right about here. All right, then we have this merged cross. So let's select it, and I'll go to this merged cross example, select this one and select this one, and there we are, we've got this merged cross where the lane markings are going to merge. Then we have the merged T. That's this one. So select this and select this and we have the merged T here. Finally, we have a corner joint as well. That's this. So let's select the first one and the second one and we have this kind of corner joint. Now for all the other examples, I'm going to use this single multi-line. So I'll press enter again and then we have 5 of these examples. Let's start with add vertex. If you want to add more vertices, simply click. So I'll just click here and here. And now we have 2 extra vertices. Press escape, select the multi-line and look at this. We now have these 2 vertices here in the multi-line. Let's go to MLEDIT. And here I'll go to delete vertex. Now, if you select any vertex, for example, this one, it will merge the remaining 2 vertices. You can even delete this if you want. And we are back to this. Now, if you want to cut your multi-line, you can cut either all the multi-lines or just a single one. I'll select cut all first and now select the 2 points. So first point, second point, and that'll create the gap. Now press escape and then press Ctrl Z. And once again, I'll repeat the command. So MLEDIT, enter. And then we have cut single. This will let you cut the specific multi-line, the line of that multi-line series. So here I'll just select maybe this point and this point, and that's going to cut only this multi-line. You can also select this and this to cut just this part of the multi-line. Now we have another option, that's weld all, which will basically weld everything together. So if you have the complete gap or this kind of partial gap, just click and that's going to merge those gaps. And that's how you can edit your multi-lines. So that was all about multi-line and using them to create walls and windows in floor plan. Let me know your thoughts about using it in your projects and I'll see you in another video.